Good evening. A 7 News investigation has revealed the state government was warned 6 months before last year's election that it could have to sell off public assets to deal with mounting debt levels. Anna Bligh didn't unveil plans to privatise $15 billion worth of publicly owned entities until after Queenslanders re-elected her. Political reporter Patrick Condren joins us now live from Parliament House. Patrick, this is significantly different from what the Premier told voters.
Rod, since announcing the deeply unpopular sell-off plan, the Premier and her senior ministers have steadfastly rejected suggestions they were planning the fire sale before last March's election. 7 News decided to use a Freedom of Information investigation to test the Premier's denials. Within months of her victory speech, Anna Bligh declared that the global financial crisis had forced the government's hand into acting quickly to sell off public assets.
I didn't have a secret plan.
But those denials are under a cloud. 7 News can reveal that a Cabinet Budget Review Committee strategy discussion paper dated October 2008 warned senior ministers, including the Premier, that Queensland's coffers were facing high-rising debt levels with no capacity for repayment. It's understood the document outlines options for dealing with the problem. They include asset sales.
What I did after the election was sit down with Treasury and do weeks and weeks and weeks of hard yards looking at all the alternatives.
However, a document uncovered by 7 News reveals some of those hard yards were being done long before the last election.
We didn't believe that this was a spur-of-the-moment thing straight after the election that happened. This has been in train for a long period of time, and this is a smoking gun.
In April 2008, Treasurer Andrew Fraser met senior executives from United States-based company Hancock Forestry. During the discussion, Hancock's expressed very keen interest in being able to acquire Queensland forestry assets. According to the email, the Treasurer, in responding, indicated thinking on forestry was not closed. It goes on to highlight that the government did not have a slavish devotion to any particular philosophy.
This clearly shows that over 12 months before the election, they were sitting down talking about it with private enterprise. So that's a conspiracy, and it's not a conspiracy theorist conspiracy, it's a factual conspiracy when you look at that.
It's only evidence of the fact that the government's policy hasn't changed through its time in office.
The email also notes that Mr Fraser highlighted that at several points over the past 10 years, the government had decided to exit certain asset classes, for example, recent airports announcement. The Treasurer insists that at the time he told Hancock executives that Queensland forestry wasn't for sale. But that view isn't spelt out in this email.
There was a discussion about the way in which the government approached privatisation, and that is that we deal with it on a case-by-case basis, had done throughout our time in government and would do so into the future.
They've lied to us, they've lied to the public.
And Rod, tonight's revelations will give more ammunition to those opposed to the asset sales, including unions who now say they're very close to getting the numbers necessary to call a special ALP state conference to have the sell-off plans overturned.
Would be an unwelcome result for the Premier. Thanks indeed, Patrick Condren, live from Parliament House.